¿Qué onda, amigos? ¿Cómo están? Bienvenidos a un nuevo episodio de su podcast ¿Qué te tomas? Yo soy Beto Rizzo, su podcast host, y estamos de regreso, muy contento de estar de regreso y muy emocionado porque hoy tenemos de invitado a alguien que seguro ya escucharon la intro, pero de todos modos les quiero reiterar. Un compa mío, me gusta mucho su filosofía, me gusta su carrera, la manera en que ha ido sobresaliendo, y he ido a correr con él, uno de los pocos amigos en mi vida con los que he ido a correr, y siempre que estamos cotorreando salen conversaciones muy interesantes acerca de cómo ser mejor y cómo ser mejor persona, ¿no? Así que Juan, cabrón, bienvenido.
Muchas gracias. Thank you so much for having me on this podcast. Like you said, you know, I'm somebody that's always striving to be better, to be the best I can be. So definitely love having people around me that, like yourself, that is also someone that's, you know, like-minded, going for more, bigger, looking at the bigger picture in life. Because a lot of the times we can focus, especially now with social media,
right?
We can hyper focus on things that don't really matter. You know,
the little things.
Yeah, definitely.
But now, before we even get further on that, hold that thought, dude, because para Juan hicimos un Oaxacan old fashion. Le llamé, le dije, cabrón, ¿qué quieres tomar? Didn't hesitate a second. Oaxacan old fashion, bro. I have everything in my studio because we're recording in his studio. I'm like, no, dude, that's on ¿Qué te tomas? Count, okay? So, salud, ¿qué tal está?
It's definitely one of the best I've ever had.
Oaxacan old fashion. So how do you make a Oaxacan old fashion? If I haven't linked a video for it, mezcal, agave néctar diluido 50-50, tequila reposado, si tiene, nosotros utilizamos un añejo claro, hielo, bitters, un pedacito de cáscara de naranja, stirred, not shaken, and then you pour it in a glass and you fucking drink it, right? That's basically it. Muy bien. Carnal, pues, let's start by the beginning, man. How come, or how is it that you're in the U.S.? You know, how do you get here? How do your parents get here? What's the story there?
When my parents were in their 20s, the night they got married, my dad just pretty much said, we're leaving that same night. It wasn't even planned.
Wow.
They just took off. And it was done at night because my grandfather would never let my mom leave. And, you know, I never really thought about how hard it must have been for them to do that. You know, It was just something like, it just happened, you know. But then as you get older and you think about it, like, wow, like that must have taken incredible courage just to be like, I'm leaving everything behind and I'm going to go into a new land. My dad only had his brother here, and that was it.
Your mom didn't have anybody?
My mom didn't have anybody at the time.
And then you should follow.
Yeah. So let's go.
That's a leader right there, bro.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
It's interesting, but like, you know, to have someone, one person, you know, follow you anywhere, that means that there is love and there is belief, right? That's like, it comes down to that, I think. But I want to add, because this is a really cool story that you're sharing, and something that I shared like right when I started my podcast, it was this idea that immigrant people were optimistic by nature, you know, because you leave anywhere you're at thinking and in your core knowing that you're going to be better than you're at that specific moment when you decided to take off. So I love that. Where's your family from?
Jalisco. So a small town called Teocatitlan de Guadalupe.
Okay. Tecua?
Yeah, Tecua for short. And it's right next to Jalos.
Okay.
Jalos, Totitlan.
That's where Janet's from?
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of great people from that region of Mexico. You know, it's crazy. It's a small world because everywhere that I go, I always meet someone. When I went to Chihuahua, just recently for a race, there was someone from there that I told him I was going to Jalisco, and he's like, really? Like, I have family from Jalisco. I was like, bro, that's where we're going. That's insane.
Shit.
Yeah.
That is fucking crazy.
It's insane how small the world is.
So your parents get here. I mean, you were born here in the U.S.?
I was born in Sacramento.
Okay.
Yeah, it's insane.
This is where we're at still.
Yeah, it's insane. When I think about it, I'm like, driving down Fruit Ridge or Stockton, and I'm like, this is where I was born. You know, I'm not as adventurous as my parents.
You know, but we can argue that, right? We can argue that because, you know, you're a person that has traveled, right? And you're a person that has done some of the craziest shit that, you know, I've known anybody, or how do I say that? Actually, because it's Spanish, I can say it in Spanish, right? Eres una de las personas que ha hecho esas cosas o más locas de la gente que yo conozco, ¿no? O sea, correr un ultramaratón, a lo que vamos a llegar en un momento. Pero so, you grew up here in Sacramento, and, you know, what was it like, dude? Like, you know, how was your experience, like, living here in Sacramento? You have immigrant parents. What were your thoughts when you were going, you know, through middle school, high school? What was your aspiration back then?
You know, when I was in elementary school, I can remember not having what I wanted. Like all the cool kids had Jordans. I had shoes that would literally talk. So what I meant by that was every time I take a step, like the bottom of my sole would stay on the floor, and every time just kind of clap, right? Every time I took a step. And I remember getting made fun of so much because of that. And I would go home and I pretty much throw those shoes out when I get home. And my mom would say, that's what I can afford. That's what you have. Be thankful that you have a roof over your head. Be thankful that you have food. You know, all the important things are covered. Just be grateful. And I remember wearing the same shirt to school for like 4 or 5 days every single day. And I remember being so jealous because there was kids at my school that, you know, now that I think about it, when I'm older, they had very dysfunctional families. They lived in the projects, but I wanted to be like them. I wanted to be like the cool kids because they had all the Jordans, they had all the cool things, and it's crazy because you don't think about that perspective when you're young. You come from a safe family, everything is good, but there's other kids that have what you think that you want, but in reality, that doesn't really mean anything.
It's interesting that you say that because so we want what we know that exists.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's one thing. But not only that, there are people, and you know, I don't think I'm completely out of that yet, but that don't grow out of that mentality where, you know, you don't necessarily want to have more, you know, how do you say it? Like, more to offer de adentro para afuera, you know, like you're only thinking about what there is in the outside, you know, like having those Jordans, having a nice car, having, you know, a huge house. But how about, like, what about you? You know, like, is your family functional? You know, how are you treating other people? You know, like, it's just, but we don't think that when we're young.
I think it's because a lot of people that are like that, they're selfish, but they're unconscious of how they're selfish. I think it's, I mean, some people might not agree with this, but I think there's a point that you become selfish, but you're aware of it. And I think that's the point that I'm at right now, because in order for me to get where I want to be, I have to kind of, you know, be selfish and get the things that I need for myself so I can be at a stable point. And then later when I'm successful to the point that I want to be, then I can give back. Even when you're at an airport or on an airplane, when there's an accident or something, they always say to put your own oxygen mask first before helping the person next to you. Because if you don't have an oxygen mask for yourself, then you can't help the person next to you. You know,
that's beautiful, dude. And like, that's one of the recurrent thoughts that I've had. You have to heal yourself before trying to heal someone else. You have to love yourself before you can love someone else. Like, the thing is, it's so hard for us to understand that. You have to be a little bit selfish, dude, to be able to do the things that you want to do. And if people want you to stop doing and taking care of the things you want to take care of them, so who is being selfish? Like, who is it really being selfish?
100%. Everyone has their own agenda. When they talk to you, it's like they're trying to push their agenda on you, and you just kind of have to be smart about it. You know, like, is their agenda going to take over what I want to do? You know, and sometimes, I mean, the answer is yes, but you have to be strategic, and understand why you do what you do.
So you're here, you get to high school. Do you go to college?
When I was thinking about my options when I was going to school, I looked around and saw what my uncles were doing, what my dad did. Because my dad, at the point when I was in high school, he was really sick. He had ALS, which is a disease that progressively gets worse as he got older. When I was 10 years old, I remember getting the news that he had a sickness and he had 2 years to live. So as things progressed, he lived a total of 10 years. So we had him in our lives for a long time, but it was definitely tough to see him, just steadily get worse. And I would just look around to see what my other family members were doing, what my dad did before he was sick. And my dad worked in pools. He was a laborer. What he would do is he put rebars in pools, and then someone else would come and put cement. But what I mean is that everyone in my family and everyone that I knew that was around me had laborer jobs. So easy jobs that anybody out of high school can do. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do that, but I'm going to build to something greater, but I'm going to start at the bottom. But I knew nobody that had done that, to be honest with you. I had no influences in my life that tell me this is the way that you do it. This is the way that you get to the next level. I just kind of lived and understood from my own experiences. And real quick, I found out that what I thought I had planned, what I thought that I was going to graduate high school and just go into a regular labor job and do labor for the rest of my life, I found out that's just not the case.
You thought that you were mentalizing yourself.
Yeah.
This is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life because there is nothing else. That's what there is, and that's what I'm taking.
That's exactly what I wanted to do. That was my plan. But I also wanted the nice things in life. I remember the first job that I had out of high school, it was stucco.
Okay.
And stucco is real
it's physical.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's definitely demanding on the body. And the people that I worked with, they were very machistas, that they, just love to drink. As soon as I get into the car, aquí tu café, puto, right? And they would throw a beer, a Corona.
Wow.
And this is like, all right. I was like, if I didn't drink it, I was the puto, right? But if I had it with everybody else, then I was just like one of the men, one of the guys, right?
And that's who you wanted to be at that point.
Exactly. These are the guys that I look up to. This is what I want to do. So at that point, it was easy for me to get drunk. And I remember on Thanksgiving, it was like 2008. It was Thanksgiving Day. I went out to El Dorado Hills. We worked on in a $6 million home. And by 11 o'clock, everybody was just passed out. Everybody was passed out on this driveway of this $6 million home. And then you can see the families of the other people in the other homes that were the neighbors come out and just kind of walk their dogs, be with their kids. And I was like, this is Thanksgiving. This is a day for family. What am I doing looking around, looking at all these drunk guys that I was with? They were passed out. I was the only one that's kind of stood up a little bit. And I was like, this is my reality. And if I don't change something, I'm going to grow old and be just like these guys. So that was the first light bulb moment that I had. Okay, I got to change my life. I got to do something. But I didn't know what it was.
It's cool that you realized it, though.
Yeah.
Again, I'm going to continue to go back to this because there is, we can go about life, and there's some aspects of our life that we don't, that I know that I have to fix, and I'm sure that you also do. But it's not until you see it, You can be told something 1,000 times, but it's not until you actually hear it, and you see it, and you have that eureka moment. It's like, oh shit, something's got to give.
That was definitely my eureka moment when I was 19 years old, just looking around and knowing that there had to be more. Of course, there was examples all around me. I look up and there's people pulling their Rolls Royce out of their driveway.
And that dude, that's actually crazy.
Yeah.
The fact that juxtaposing, is that a word?
Yeah,
it is a word, right? Because putting something against something else,
Mm-hmm.
it's that specifically you're in the driveway or on the driveway of a $6 million home. There is your heroes, the people that you look up to, are drunk on the house that you're working at, and this is your reality, and this is what you could be having, and it's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And dude, you mentioned families. How true is that, right? It's that a lot of times we give up because that's what we know. Again, time with the people that we love. And it could be that's an immigrant mentality too. Think about it, man. The parents, women and men that come to the U.S. or anywhere else in the world, leaving behind children sometimes, to be able to provide. And because this is a generational thing, they think that because they were left behind, it's fine to do it again and do it again. So you're breaking that, dude.
Definitely. That's definitely the goal. But another reason why I feel like I was kind of lost is that school was also a priority for my mom. She would tell me, okay, you have to be good in school. But what does that mean? You know,
what does that mean?
What does good mean? There was like, that was all she told me, but she was always so busy with my dad that I could pretty much do whatever I wanted to do. I had like no direction. I would, cut class every single day. And I think that's where I kind of learned my habits from a kid. I want a lot out of life, and we'll go into that later a little bit. What I just recently found out on this 50-mile race that I just did. But I feel like I'm one of the laziest people that want a lot. It's like there's a lot that I want, but I don't feel like I've ever had that work ethic to get what I wanted. Because
what does that look like? What is that work ethic? Can you describe it?
Yeah, definitely. So I've never been somebody that wanted to be like pigeonholed or labeled or just be known for this one thing. I've always wanted to do all kinds of different things. And I guess with that, when I cast that net so broad that I never was really able to excel in one thing. I do so many things that I'm good in a lot of things, but I don't really excel in one thing. So I guess it's really being able to hyper focus and commit to this one thing. And then plus like just saying that no matter what, I'm going to get this done. Like for example, with the photography business that Abby and I currently own, I've always wanted to be a great photographer, and I would just do enough just so that I can be better than I was, not even like, just so I can say that I have a photography business. But I was never really excelling into just recently.
How do you get into photography? So, you get out of high school and, you realize, shit, this is not the life I want. You're working in concrete and you're working in stucco. And so you have this eureka moment, right?
Yeah.
Like you understand that this is not the life you want. So what do you do right after that? Like, what was the first step that you took when you realized that? Did you continue with it? What happened?
It's crazy because, once you make a decision to do something else, like just the universe, just
I believe that 100%.
Gives you a million different ideas, right? So literally, like it was, I don't remember what day there was a day that I didn't go to work for whatever reason, I was watching The Simpsons at home.
Okay.
And there was a cartoon. There was a commercial for an ITT Tech. And back then, every time you watch Maury or Simpsons or anything like that, every other commercial would be ITT Tech,
yeah,
Heald College, something like that. And I was like, well, I don't know anything else. And again, going back to like that, I'm just going to do the minimum. I'm going to go to this IT Tech school and I'm going to become a millionaire. That was my plan, right? So then I went to this school and I remember loving it. I remember loving being able to work towards what I thought that I was going to graduate and have like this super well high paying job and be able to live in those $6 million homes.
Yeah.
I had no direction. I was so naive.
Nobody tells you though.
Yeah.
Like it's just, how are you going to know if nobody tells you? Like I'll share. When I was graduating college, again, nobody in my family has graduated college, before me in my immediate family. And I remember thinking, I'm going to graduate and I'm going to start making $200K a year. That sounds so crazy, but I believed it.
Yeah.
Like with my core, I thought, I'm capable, I'm smart, I'm going to have a college degree. Fuck it, why not? So like that was my ceiling. And I was very naive because I had no direction, right? So you go to ITT Tech. What were you studying there?
Drafting and design.
Okay.
Drafting and design. So it's a program where the way that it was sold to me is that people that go through this program can later become engineers, architects, which is true, but the process takes 10 times longer than it would be if you just went to school.
Wow.
That's something that they leave out. So, of course, me being super naive, let's do it 100%. So I signed up right away. I remember being so nervous when they told me they had to test me to see if I was smart enough so that I can go to the school. And I was like, oh my God, that's so I'm like, what if I fail? What if I'm not even smart enough to come to the school? And I remember like the lady like looking at my scores, she was like, wow, like you did 90% better than most of the people that come here.
What?
And I mean, I couldn't even believe it. But anyway, so they put me in school. And I remember just loving it. When I love something, I like give my all for a while, right? So
exactly. I was about to ask that. You know, like you leave it your all.
Yeah.
But for how long?
Yeah, definitely. It's like one of those things like, okay, at first I'm going to give it 100%. I remember just, spending so much time before class and after class at the school and winning awards at the school for the designs that I did. But the designs that I had done, they were like pretty much copies from other plans. So
you were doing the very minimum and still doing it good, or were you at this point doing?
So more? No, I wasn't doing the bare minimum. What I was. So that school taught you the bare minimum, but I was hungry for more. So I would YouTube. I would, just like ask professors, like, how do I do this? How do I do that? And they would give you little clues on, where to find that information. So then I just go on YouTube. I find up floor plans online, and I did my own designing and I did my own learning on how to design. And I would show my teachers, and they would ask me if they can make large prints. And later I felt like I was they printed all my work and they put it on the halls of ITT Tech. So I would see the recruiters coming and showing the kids, and this is what you learn if you come here. And this
shit.
Yeah. And I was like, no, this is not what you learn. I had to put like hours and hours.
Fuck, we're throwing shade at ITT Tech right now because that's bullshit.
You know what? They don't exist anymore. They went bankrupt. Of course.
Bad faith.
Yeah.
Fucking people that are already being fucked, by the system.
Yeah, so I paid, it's even embarrassing to say how much I paid for that associate's degree. But, that associate's degree got me out of working and
made you believe.
Yeah. I remember as soon as I graduated, I was 20 when I graduated because it was like 2-year program. And I went in like right before I turned 19. And not to say like, even though I really loved it, I was definitely not the most focused kid. At 19, I had 2 DUIs. I was partying. I was just on a trajectory that was to me, I lived for the weekend. And every time that I sobered down, then I put it into my studies. But then the weekend was always first for me. It was like one of those things. Just like I always let the things. I was living for the now back then,
which isn't like always bad when you're, focused on something specific.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask. It's interesting because that's not the Juan I met. Not at all, dude. Like from day one.
Mm-mm.
Actually, I would have never imagined.
100%. I graduated. I mean, I barely graduated high school. I had 2 DUIs before I was 19. It was definitely a different time. But for whatever reason, there's a lot of things that never fazed me. And those were like one of those things like it doesn't like it's stupid in a way when you think about it as an adult. But I was just like, yeah, I'll figure it out later.
You were 19 years old, bro.
Yeah.
So okay. So you thought about now when does the Juan that I've met, because that's like I wanted to hear about, because all of this made you become who you are today.
Yeah,
Without
definitely.
it, you wouldn't be this person. But when do you think you became more who you are now than what you were back then?
So when I graduated ITT Tech, I went into HVAC company that installed and designed their own HVAC plants. So
that's air conditioning.
Air conditioning, exactly. So the job that I was hired for, so I would just draw the plans and then someone would install the plans after I drew them. But I mean, I had zero knowledge about HVAC, so they taught me everything about HVAC at that place. And when I was there, I started at $10 an hour. And I was like, whoa, $10 an hour, that's crazy. Because I remember being a kid. I remember being 11 years old and reading a book. It was like one of those math problems. It was saying, if this bus driver makes $10 an hour and he works this many hours, what is his paycheck going to be after you take out taxes or whatever? I remember laughing. I was telling my mom, I was like, look, Mom, this bus driver only makes $10 an hour. She's like, what? $10 an hour? That's good money. So in my mind, even though I was like 20 years old, I was like, oh, $10 an hour, I'm making good money. Yes.
Yeah.
Even though I paid $30,000 for an associate's degree at ITT Tech, for whatever reason, I thought $10 an hour was great.
And you started working in this company. How long did you work there?
I worked there for 7 years.
Okay.
And when I started working there, I was like, yes, I made it. I'm going to be able to have the American dream now because I'm in an office. Like, I'm the first in my family ever working in an office.
Isn't that crazy though? Like, how do you act? The first day that you were in the office, like, how do you dress? How do you move? How do you talk?
Dude, that's crazy because I remember struggling with that so much.
Isn't that crazy? Like, I think I've said that before in the podcast, but like the first time, and I'm going to share mine because when I worked in an office for the first time, I remember I finished my work so quickly. Like, it was assigned to me. You know, I'm used to working in restaurants. I'm just doing everything as fast as I can, you know, because that's the mentality. And I got to the office and I started working so fast. You know, I had this project for like, that I had a month or something like that to complete. I finished in like in 2 weeks. And then I called one of my friends. I'm like, dude, I finished with my work and I'm kind of bored because there's nothing to do. And this dude said, bro, grab a broom, clean the desk, clean the windows. Don't stand around. I'm like, dude, like, that's not what I'm supposed to be doing in an office, man. You know? And this is a true story because we don't know how to act. Yeah. So how was that for you?
Oh, man. I feel like I've always had different personalities because there was one way that I was with my friends, and I still had a lot of hood friends. Have you seen SpongeBob when he got all polished? I don't know if you
I haven't seen that one.
So there's an episode of SpongeBob when he goes into like, I don't remember where he went or what he was doing, but instead of him, you know, having the pores and looking like a regular sponge, they polished him up and then they put a tie on him and he was like a perfect sponge. And I think that's what I try to be. You know, I just try to be like the most polished individual, what in my mind that I thought it was. And, you know, put on a tie the first few days, even though I had a crazy mohawk. Yes, sir, please, and thank you for everything, you know, kind of thing. And thank you so much.
Dude, like, office, it's so weird, though. Like, I still work in an office, you know, and it's weird sometimes. I think people that work in offices, we shouldn't take ourselves that serious. Like, do your job properly, address people politely. But, like, the moment I'm like, hey, you know, what's happening, guys? You know, like, how can I help you? You know, my man. You know, like, when I start being more who I am and like addressing people differently, that's when true relationships are built. Because when I'm just fake smiling at someone, just listening to something that they're just repeating, they don't mean, you know, how am I supposed to get, like, you know, how am I supposed to find my job fulfilling? So I don't know where I was going with that, but
yeah, no,
I think it's true.
Yeah, definitely. I totally understand what you're trying to say.
So you work in this office?
Yeah, so
7 years.
Work in that office for 7 years, and like 5 years in, I understood that that's not the quality of life. If I would have stayed at that job, I would be living, you know, pretty comfortably, I think, because I was in the position to be in management after I had left. I just didn't see myself working there anymore. I understood that what I thought when I started there was a lie, and I couldn't continue living that lie, you know?
Yeah. No, I know.
It's embarrassing what I told my boss when I quit, and I think about it, I was like, I was straight up with it. I was like, bro, like I had thoughts of being a millionaire when I started.
What did he say? Did he laugh?
You know, he's like, and he's like, what do you want, Juan? I was like, oh, I want to go be a millionaire. He's like...
You told him that?
Yeah. He was like, okay, well, go be a millionaire.
And then you left?
Yeah. 2 years prior to leaving the company, I had a total mindset shift. And it started all through books. And that's why I still love books so much. Someone gave me How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Okay.
And that book just... like, I couldn't put it down because I found out like there was a manual to how to interact with people. I saw how people are so fake because they just want something from you. Before that book, I thought everything was so perfect. Like, I don't know how to explain it. I remember after reading that book, I would even be upset when I would get a bag that said, "Thank you for shopping with us." I knew that
they don't mean it.
They don't.
It's just like...
They don't care.
You want just business.
Yeah, they don't care. But...
And that hurts you?
that hurt me at the time in a way. I don't know how. I don't know. It was just like a big realization that everything is not perfect. Everybody just wants something. Everybody just wants something from everything. And I don't know why that was such a big realization to me, but it was. So then I just started reading more books. It's like every single book that I got, it was like a tool. It was a tool that I can learn a little bit more and have that tool in my tool bag, even and help me understand life a little bit more. Because even to this day, I feel like I have to continue to read books and I have to keep learning, because I never felt like I was someone that was super smart, like that was able to realize that in order for you to go from A to Z, you have to go A, B, C, D, E. You follow that path. So I have a library of like 200 books, and I have an Audible library of like 260 books. And the Audible library, I can proudly say that I've listened to 99% of those books. The books that I have, physical books, I can say that I've read maybe about 30% of those books.
I have something to say about Audible, because so technology is supposed to make our life easier.
Yeah.
Right? That's why we're announcing a partnership. I wish we were. Actually, that would be a good commercial to do. But Audible, bro. People get angry sometimes when you tell them, I read this book, but you listen to Audible. Dude, you're supposed to be efficient. You know, like that's the thing about life. You know, how can we? I agree that some books it's best if you read them. You know, you have them, you hold them. But some books you can listen to and you get the exact same content. And again, there's some purists that believe that no, dude, that's not reading. That's not reading. It's listening. But you and I, you had it for a week. I had it for 2 days, and we both finished the same thing. We both did the same. You know?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's a way to filter out books, because there's some books that almost put you to sleep. And the books that you really resonate with, you can always continue to go back, because the books out of those 260 books, there's like 10 books that I've listened to more than 10 times, and there's 5 of those books that I listened more than 20 times because I started Audible in like 7 years ago, and there's always books that for some time in my life that I had to keep listening to, and every time that I listened to, there was always multiple new things that I would listen, that I would internalize more and understand at a different level. The books that I love the most, but it's taken me a long time to be able to understand these books the way that I understand them, and that's why that I love them. But Siddhartha, Hitchhiker's Guide to a Galaxy, The Alchemist, Replay.
What was the fifth book? I'm curious. I'm very curious.
It's called The Kabbalion.
The Kabbalion.
The Kabbalion.
Okay. You at some point in your life you went to India.
Yeah.
And I think it was about that time when you and I started to talk to each other. You know, I saw your pictures. I used to comment and
definitely
talk to you about. So, what's the reason you went to India? You know what? Because I know you're a spiritual guy. So how you know, like, is that was that one of the reasons? Were the books the reason? Like, how did that come to be?
I wanted to travel. I just didn't know where I wanted to go.
Have you traveled before?
That was the first time I ever left
India.
The only place that I'd actually gone was to Mexico. But I wanted to travel somewhere new. You know, this world is so large, you got to see new places. But I wanted to go somewhere that's totally different than what we see here on our everyday life. So I wanted to go somewhere that I can go away from the touristy places and live pretty much where the real people that are there every single day would live.
Right.
So India was was on the short list of places that I wanted to go to. It was definitely the one that I chose because of architecture.
Okay.
Architecture was how it all started for me. I thought I was going to be an architect when I was young. They had the Taj Mahal, and it's one of the most beautiful structures in all of the world. And then there was a spiritual aspect of it. There's a place in India where Muslims, Hindus, even there's a bunch of Christians there that all live together and coexist. Hinduism was the biggest religion in this place in India, and it was the only place in India where the water traveled the opposite direction. It was like a small portion. It was like a quarter of a mile section of river. So they thought that there was the Hindus believe that this is a spiritual place.
How does that happen, though?
I don't know how it happens. Like some tide pool, something happens underwater, and it just makes the water go in an opposite direction. So then they have this story, and I don't know 100% what the story is about how there was a god that made that water go the opposite direction. So Hindus believe in reincarnation, but they also believe that the world that we live in right now is hell. So they believe that this is all suffering, life is suffering, and in order for that suffering to stop, you have to stop being reincarnated. So if you cremate the body on the banks of this river, and then once the body is pretty much just ashes and just like the last portions of the bones are still there, you put what's left of this body into that river, and it just puts it out into, the vaster river. And so people from all over India would bring the dead there.
Does that still happen?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I would be in that city, and when I would go close to the river, you just see the smoke coming up from all of the dead bodies. And they said that they have a fire. The fire that they start all the bodies burning that has been lit for 500 years. It's never turned off.
Wow.
So there's this place that's burning 200 bodies every single day, and I see the people there that are just picking this water up. They're drinking it. They're swimming in it. I'm like, okay,
it's not sanitary.
It's not, but it's like when in Rome. You're in India.
Oh, yeah.
So then I was like, all right, I gotta experience this. So it's like one of the holiest places in all of India. So I went for a swim.
Naked?
No, not naked.
Sorry, I thought
I went for a swim.
That could add to the story.
Yeah. It was definitely an experience that I would do again, but I was sick for a few days afterwards.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
Oh shit! Because of that specifically, you think it was like?
Yeah, 100%. All the bacteria in there and everything. It was just it's like one of those things that I am just someone that just wants to try all these things. I'm just like someone with a curiosity, like a childlike curiosity. Like what is it like to do this and like to do that? And it's just one of those things that I always just jump, and then once I'm there, like, oh, okay, now what?
I think that's a beautiful thing, though.
Yeah.
I am an overthinker. I'm a little bit of an opposite of that. I do try to. I try new things, though. I am a person. I force myself. I'm a firm believer that growth and happiness is in not being comfortable. Being a little bit uncomfortable all the time is what actually makes you enjoy life. Because if it's comfortable all the time, how do you appreciate? If I would have been you in India, I would have researched, okay, what are the diseases that I could get if I go into this water? What, how, you know what I mean? And then maybe I would go in the other direction,
Yeah.
So you go to India, was that life changing? Or, did you feel like a different person? And I'm going to motivate you all to go and check out. Do you still have the pictures from India?
No, I deleted everything. Because...
Did you do anything wrong in India that you wanted to delete the evidence?
No. So after this race, I decided that everything's going to change.
Okay. And so let's get into that. Let me.
Yeah.
So Juan, and we can talk about your photography business, because you're working in HVAC units, and designing that, and then you go into architecture in a way that you're also a designer, right? Right now, is that what you do for a living?
Yeah. So it's drafting and design, going back to what I went to school for. So I understand all of the architecture and the engineering programs, and then just pretty much make modifications and design plans for plumbing, HVAC, and that's pretty much it. Just plumbing and HVAC.
Okay. So you start your photography business. That's what you do now.
Mm-hmm.
You're going viral on TikTok. That's what I've heard.
That's...
you're accumulating hundreds of thousands of views and likes, and I love to see that.
Yeah, that's... Abby and I work together on the photography business, so that's definitely not just me. Abby's the one that has all of the marketing and the genius for working in the TikTok space. So, I'm there as a photographer, but I'm definitely not the one that's actually putting together those TikToks.
But so the way you got into photography wasn't necessarily through school. I mean, I think you took a few classes at some point.
So I've never taken an actual class on photography other than YouTube. YouTube University would be the only class that I've ever...
YouTube University, I'm a firm believer on that, though.
Definitely.
Like everything that I do on this podcast, I think life, being successful, is knowing how to Google and find stuff on YouTube.
Yeah.
100%. I can tell, dude, I build websites.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not you know, you go to the Secretary of State's website for Voters' Choice Act, go right now. I designed that website. I'm not, I'm
nice.
not, yeah, and I'm not a designer.
Yeah.
Did I ask for a raise? Actually, I think I'm going to delete that. Because I should have, you know.
One of the books that changed the complete direction of my life, you know, like building or winning friends and influence people just like was like an eye opener for me. There's more to the world, right? But the one that actually like changed my whole life was a book by Grant Cardone. And I think it was called 10X. And it was just about 10Xing everything you do and just doing more, being better, and how everything that happens to you is your own fault. It's an extreme way of looking at life, but I've adopted that philosophy. And so I'm never mad at what happens in my life because at the end of the day, I'm like, it's my fault. You know, I made that happen in some way or some form. The chips that I moved, the chess pieces that I moved made whatever happened. So it's 100% my fault.
I think there are some times where the conditions into which you're raised or, you know, the place where you're living, I think there is a point when what's happening in your life is 100% your fault. I think there's like, you know, when you're growing up and, you know, the moment you become an adult, it's on you. I understand that there are some obstacles that some people have to jump and some other people don't have to, for example.
Yeah, so I mean, I learned about that philosophy when I was 25 and I adopted it. So, you know, by then I was definitely a grown individual and, you know, just accepted everything that came towards me. Like before then, I was like, oh man, why does this happen to me kind of thing? You know, it was more of a victim mentality. But now it's just like, okay, well, deal with it. Let's move on. And I think that's made me like so much serene. Like, there's I'm not somebody to get mad. Like there's few times that I can think that I've been like just furious. And other than that, I'm like a very level-headed, just calm and serene person. And I attribute it to that, you know, just understanding. And something else that I believe is that the universe is fair. I know that the world is not fair because there's people that are taller, people that are smaller, you know, just all kinds of different people that are smarter, you know. So what we know is the world, but what we don't know is that's where the universe comes in, right? Like that's what is above our realm of understanding. But what we see every day, that's our world, and that's where I think that that's what we know, and that's what's not fair. But the universe always balances.
What makes you start thinking about that? You know, at what moment do you start thinking about the universe and like things that come your way, you know, are because I agree with you, you know, like I just realized recently I was looking out of the window at work, you know, of where I work now. I work in a building downtown, right in the heart of downtown, across the street from the Doco. And I'm looking out of the window and I'm looking at the freeway I-5 coming from Davis towards Sacramento. And that view from that freeway to Sacramento at night is my favorite view of the city. I could live there. I love it so much. And I remember coming down, you know, like coming from UC Davis when I was in school, I used to look at that and I used to think, I'm going to conquer this fucking city and I'm going to work in that building. And I'm, you know, in one of those buildings, I didn't know which one. And I'm going to be high up there, you know. I want to work in an office there. It's going to happen. I believed it, dude. And the other day I was coming out of my office and I saw the highway. And I was like, holy shit. I literally spoke this into existence. So my goals are different now, right? So like I know that what I'm thinking now, it's going to happen somehow because I'm going to make it happen. I learned about the law of attraction, right? It's like it's just, you know, you have to believe it and you have to speak it into the universe. But attraction, the second part of that word is action, you know? So like in order to attract, you have to act because it's like the universe is going to help you. Like, dude, it's so crazy. The moment you make a decision that you're going to do something, like when you really believe it though, like it's not like, okay, I'm going to do this and then you do nothing about it.
Yeah,
the moment you change it, dude, like, fuck, you go out the door and then you meet someone that's doing it already and, you know, that can teach you how to do that shit.
100%. The way that I started into photography was like, so Grant Cardone was someone that talked about business and building wealth and, you know, 10x your money, 10x everything. You know, he was just about everything. So
10x sales after this conversation to the roof.
Yeah, definitely. He's like, all right, so I need a business. In order for me to make $1 million, I need a business. And I don't know what that business is going to be, but I need a business. So at that time, my brother played competitive soccer. I was the photographer for that, but I wasn't really anywhere near. I mean, I wasn't good with the camera. I was just someone that owned a camera, and I would go out there and I would, just because I had the nicest camera, they would say that I'm the photographer, but I'd just go out there, just
take the
pictures. Yeah. Like whatever. After listening to that 10X book, I started listening to more, money and business books. And I was like, okay, I need a business. What can I, and I was looking around my room, like, what can I do? And I saw this camera. And at that time I had a little bit more extra time in my hands. So I decided that I was just going to be photography. And at that point I started hanging around with like other people that were doing photography in Sacramento. And that I think definitely pushed me to the next level, is knowing and being able to work with other creatives here in Sacramento that were also into and having the same interest as you. From there, it was just learning my camera, learning the trade. And after 2 years of doing photography, I said, okay, I'm going to quit my job. And I quit my job because I was like I was going to go see how far I can take this photography thing. Because I was like, okay, even though I'm making 20...
When was this?
I was 27, so that was in... Okay. So
when you quit and you told I'm going to go be a millionaire, that's when you became a photographer full time.
Yeah, that's what I was going to become a photographer full time. That lasted about not even a year. It lasted about 9 months.
Were you making any money at this point?
I was booking a lot of small jobs. I wasn't booking weddings and quinceañeras. I attracted more like-minded individuals. Yeah. I think that's pretty much the biggest thing that came from it, just being able to call myself a professional photographer and believe. But again, I don't think that I had that work ethic that allowed me to get to the next level in the business, because I love to shoot. I just didn't like to edit. So it would take me a little bit longer to deliver my products. And even though I knew a lot of people, I was always booking, little $150, $200, $300 here and there.
I wanna get a little bit into this. So do you think that not being able to charge more was because you didn't fully believe in yourself?
100%. That's 100% what it was. Because I've always been somebody that always looks to like the top of whatever industry that I want to excel at. Like I always see the top photographers, and I'm always comparing myself to them. Like, my work is crap compared to what they're producing. I would like watch their videos on YouTube and try to mimic it. Yeah, definitely. That's it was never gonna work, because everyone is such a different person that it's always hard to try to mimic that other person exactly. And I've always trying to be exact, kind of thing. So I've always been a very introverted person. I've always been someone that's definitely kept to myself. And so it was hard for me to go out there and be an extroverted photographer, which I know that's what it takes to be like one of the best. Every photographer that I've seen that's like killing it has always been this super extroverted individual that's been able to, jump up and down and, like just get all kinds of different reactions. And it's not afraid to be silly.
Okay.
And I feel like I've always, just kind of guarded my image, and I've never really allowed myself to be like silly and look stupid for whatever reason.
Or just in photography? That's
my insecurity, because it's definitely a huge insecurity, because I wasn't comfortable in myself to have somebody's like, bro, you're being stupid, kind of thing. And
you were afraid of that reaction.
I was afraid of that, 100%. That, I think, was the biggest thing that blocked me from being successful in my photography business. So then 9 months, I tried to be a photographer, and I did that for about a year.
Okay.
And I quit my job.
Again,
after a year, saying,
what do you tell this guy?
It was crazy, because I went into work one day, not even expecting to quit. I was listening to something about, you just gotta go after it and do what you want to do, and just don't be afraid, kind of thing. I was listening to one of those books. I forget what book it was. There's so many of them that I listened to. And I went to the bathroom and I looked at myself in the mirror. I was like, if I don't do this now, I'm going to be here forever. So I just went back to into the office, and I told my boss, you know what? To be honest with you, I don't give this place 100% of my time. Like, I'm here, but I'm mentally somewhere else. So it's not fair for you to continue paying me what you're paying me if I'm not even going to be here mentally? And he looked at me. He's like, that's a very mature thing to say. Like, I've never known anybody that would just come in here and quit like the way you're quitting right now. I'm not happy because I know that I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And I was like, all right, man, thank you. And I went out. I tried to do it again. And
How long?
I did it again for 9 months. 9 months, and I made a lot more money the second time than the first time, but still not enough.
Not enough for what you wanted.
So I went to a different company. I felt defeated because I didn't want a job. I didn't want to go back to work, but I was like, this is what I have to do it. I have no other option because I'm not making enough money. So I have to just go back to work and continue working on my craft, continue working on my skills until I'm good enough. And that's not just skillful enough with the camera. That's also everything about me had to change. I felt like I had to be more articulate. I had to be more confident. Just everything about me, I felt like had to change. So I had to continue working on myself in order for me to have a business.
You're 30 at this point now, right?
Yeah.
Like 29.
Yeah. Still, I mean, even though
this is 4 years ago.
I started there at this newer job, and at first everything was cool. Everything was cool.
Are you still there?
No.
Oh, you quit? When did that happen?
In the total span of since I graduated ITT Tech, I've quit 4 times.
And that's fucking courageous. You know, dude, it really is, because it's a life lesson, man. Like, think about it. Like, the majority of people don't go out and try it for 9 months. They don't even try it for a month.
Yeah.
We're just not willing to leave our comfort zone. And this paycheck that's coming month to month, that we know that is secure, that is, that's there, and it's going to continue to, allow us to have the lifestyle that we have right now. I mean, it's not what we want, but it's that lifestyle,
Yeah.
And you fucking did it, dude.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm at a point right now where the business is definitely making enough money that if I were to quit and I can continue having the business at where it's at right now, then I would have no problem. But if I were to quit now, it'd be too easy. I wouldn't have learned the lesson that I need to learn from the job that I have. And what I mean by that is, if I'm able to schedule my time and be proficient at my job, be proficient at the business, and also get what I need to get done, then once I quit my job, I'm going to be 10 times better as a business owner, because I'll be able to shuffle my time more. You're challenging yourself
to be a better person.
100%.
Like, so you're actually now coming through with the idea that you were lazy. You said at the beginning, I'm quoting you.
100%, yeah.
So now you want to change that about yourself.
Definitely. This is where that comes in. And if we get into the runs, I feel like the ultra marathons have definitely changed everything about how I live my life, because when you're out there on those 50-mile runs, all of your life gets condensed. It's crazy how every problem in your life, you're just thinking about it, because at the end of the day, all you have out there are your thoughts, because it's you're running with a bunch of people around you, not all the time, because ultra marathons are there's not a lot of people that run ultra marathons, but you're out there by yourself a lot of the time. So all you have is your thoughts. And when you're in a place where you're hurting, you want to quit, but you know that you can't quit. I mean, you can always quit, but when I was in Mexico, there was no way that I can quit, because
where were you gonna go?
Yeah, exactly. Where was I gonna go?
Yeah, so
I had no.
Let me give a little bit of background on that. So Juan, and actually the first time he went for a run, it was because he was prepping for his first ultra marathon in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And he finished that. It was basically 2 back-to-back marathons, which is pretty fucking crazy. Started running that sometime in early in the morning, 2 or 3 in the morning, right, for the first one. And then you continue through the night to finish the second one, right?
Yeah. So the first one, I signed up for 2 races. Well, and technically it was 3 because of the way that the race director split it out. But I signed up for 2. I signed up for the ultra marathon. I signed up for the 5K. And the 5K was at 9 a.m. in the morning. So it was a 3-mile run at Golden Gate. And then the ultra started at 11 p.m. But the way the race directors made it was the ultra started at 11 p.m. and the second marathon started at 5:30 a.m. So if I were to finish, let's say in 4 hours, the first ultra marathon, I would have like a 2-hour break before the second one started.
How long did it take you?
So it took me 5 hours and 2 minutes to finish the first.
So you had 60 minutes to rest.
I had 60 minutes to rest. And to be honest with you, I didn't think I was going to continue.
You were like, fuck it, that's it.
Yeah, I was done. I was done with that marathon. I was just going to go back and just say, okay, next time I'm going to do it better. I'm going to train more, and I'm going to get better.
Were you hurting?
100%. 100%. I finished that first marathon and my legs hurt. Just everything about me was in pain, even though it was a 5 mile. So something that I haven't said yet was that after the 5K, we had breakfast, and then after that, we went to go shoot a wedding. So I was on my feet the whole day, working, walking back and forth. Photography is a physical job, so you're running back and forth trying to get all the shots that you need. So a lot of photographers, when they're done with their gigs, they're just like dead. They're just tired from the day. But I was like, nope, I still got to go run an ultra marathon. So after the wedding job, I realized that it was going to rain, so we went to Target, bought all the necessary like beanies and tights that I would need for the weather, and then I just stretched a little bit, and I was like, all right, let's go, ready to go. So went out to the starting line, and 80 people signed up for this run, but only 55 of them showed up because it was such an ugly day. It was raining. It was like 30-mile winds, and that was the worst part, the winds, because when it's wet and then the wind comes, it's freezing.
So you finished. You thought, I'm not going.
Yeah, definitely.
What pushed you? What was the reason behind actually doing it?
The finish line to the marathon. So it was about 2 blocks away. So Abby went with me. We walked to the Hyatt, and I just sat down, had a bagel, and I passed out for 20 minutes. And when I woke up, I saw everybody that had just finished with me. They were all on their way to finish the race.
Everyone?
Everybody. Nobody stayed. And I was like, oh, fuck, okay, well, I'm not going to be the only one that's left behind. So, just walked out with them. I was like, all right, I'm going to walk out to that starting line with you guys. And then they're like, no, just come on. You'll feel good. After you start running, you'll forget all about, that you just finished the marathon. So I was like, all right, whatever. So I started that marathon like a beast. I felt like, because the ultra marathon, the one that I started, was only 55 people, but the marathon, there was over 5,000 people.
So, wow.
It was a different energy as you walk out and you see all the people starting and the excitement that everyone had. So as I ran, I felt like I was running with everyone else. Like it was a momentum with it, right? So the first 8 miles were I just flew by them. I was like, whoa, like 8 miles already? That's dope. And then for whatever reason, I took out my headphones as we were coming into this really big hill, and it just got crazy hilly after that. And my mind went to a negative place. It was just like, what am I doing out here? I can't, why would, like, this is also because it was like a lot of the people that were starting the marathon were fresh, right?
They're passing by you.
Yeah, definitely. So I just see all these people just running by me, and I'm just like over here trying to get up this hill, and I'm super tired at that point. I was like, wait, I just ran 8 miles. Like, what? Like,
I just thought of something right now. Remember, like how we mentioned about obstacles before? So, what I meant is, there's some people that have run a marathon by the time the person who's started along them, and the other person is starting fresh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like I've never really thought about that. Like these people passing you, they might feel like, look at this fucking loser. Yeah. But they don't know that you just run, 26.2.
Exactly.
Yeah,
definitely. So yeah, like all these people were passing by me, and I just got into a negative space, and then I started walking a lot. So I walked like 2 miles. So I was like a mile 11, and then I said, all right, I gotta go. I gotta pick up the pace. And as soon as I would start running, Like I would just get hit with another hill and just hit with another hill. And then by that point I had finished all of my nutrition. And the first marathon was not like the second marathon. In the first marathon, you had like 8 stations every 7 miles. There would be Oreos, gummies, orange juice, Pepsis, whatever you wanted. It was all laid out for you, oranges, fruits. And in the second marathon, there was 5,000 people. There's no way you could feed all that people, right? So in the second, there was just water. That's all you get. And I was like, I hadn't had a meal since like 7 o'clock the night before. I just had like Oreos and just all these snacks.
Yeah.
So I was starving by like 8 a.m.
Dude, there's so many taco trucks in San Francisco. What the hell, bro?
So I was like, just upset because I didn't have any food and no energy. So
can I share something with you?
Yeah, go ahead.
About bad thoughts when you're, approaching your threshold. I just told Jeanette recently, actually, and I started doing research about. I'm doing more yoga. And, I love calisthenics. So, I try to push myself to do more push-ups or more pull-ups. And actually, this happens when I'm running, too. The moment where I'm getting to the most tired, that I'm most likely going to be able to do another rep, but I do mentally want to do another rep, then my mind thinks about something that made me feel sad or something that I said at some point in my life that might have hurt someone or... It's weird, bro. It's just something negative right away. I'm thinking, okay, 166. Okay, it's like 24. I'm pushing 24, and 25 is coming along, and I'm thinking, it's weird. I can relate. I've never run an ultra marathon. I've never run a marathon in my life. The most I've ever run is close to half a marathon, but I'm up for the challenge. That's something that I want to do. How do you think about? I'm gonna run, 52 miles. What was the reasoning behind that?
Through reading the stories that other people have written down about how they mentally challenge themselves, and that's something that I've always thought. I lack mental strength. When something gets hard, I'm just like, all right, I give up.
Fuck. Creo que nos pasa a muchas personas.
Yeah.
No? I don't know what it is. I think it has to do with perfectionism. I recorded something, podcast in relation to that recently. So you just went to Chihuahua in Mexico to run another ultramarathon.
Yeah.
How many miles was that?
That was 80 kilometers. So that's 50 miles.
It was 50. It was about the same.
Yeah, definitely.
And you didn't finish.
No. So I didn't finish that one.
Yeah. And that's not the reason I'm bringing that up is because, I asked you about it, and you said, dude, I stopped at 60 something, right, out of the 80.
Yeah. So I'm 100% convinced that not finishing that was the best thing that has ever happened to me.
Okay.
Because it made me realize how much of how lazy I am. Let me give you a little bit of a backstory.
Yeah, please.
When I got into working out, I was 25. All I wanted was a six-pack. But then I got into YouTube and I started watching all these videos of people, that are super ripped. And me being somebody that always wants to learn from the best of the best, I picked up Arnold's books. I watched Pumping Iron. I was like, all right, I want to be like Arnold. I want to have my own YouTube channel. And I made a few videos, talking about nutrition, talking about working out. There was a point when I wanted to be not only have a six-pack, but have the best effing body that I can ever possibly have, be a Greek statue. So after 2 years of doing that, I signed up for a physique competition, and it was a small competition. It was the first year, so it was something that wasn't that big yet. Right. And I ended up getting third place in the whole show. But, it sounds impressive. Third place. Hell yeah. There was, when people say it's a small show, when I tell people it's a small show, they're like, okay, how many competitors? I'm like, oh, there's 8 competitors. They're like, oh yeah, that's good. That's good. You got third place out of 8. And I just changed the subject into something else. But in reality, there was 8 competitors. 5 of them were doing bodybuilding and 3 of them were doing physique. I was one of the 3 that was doing the physique. So in reality, I got last place. But I never tell anybody that I got last place. I just tell them, hey, I got third place. I got my medal. It says third place on it. Bam, here it is. Right? So
if you run for office,
yeah,
I'm going to ask you right now.
Yeah.
there is, you need 2 people, right, at least to run for office.
Yeah.
If nobody challenges you, you win.
Right? That's true. But you weren't challenged. You were never challenged, and
but aren't you challenging yourself already just by doing it? Like the fact that you did it means that you are already better than the rest of the people that didn't do it. Like if you think about, let's think about it this way: how many people run ultra marathons?
See, that's the thing that I don't want to continue thinking, because that they gave me a medal even though I didn't finish this caballo blanco. They're like, here, pa tus recuerdos. And I looked at that medal and I just want to throw it as far as possible. It's still in my backpack somewhere, and I don't want to continue to finish things. I don't want to continue just to like finish high school and graduate, even though I don't feel like I actually deserved it, kind of thing, because I feel like that has been making the habit of me just finishing things and not actually excelling, being competitive. That's where I want to change my life. And this is how I feel like this has changed my life, because next year I want to go, but I've already started training. I don't just want to be able to finish. I want to be able to like compete. And maybe not with the people that are out there winning first place, but compete with myself. What can I do? How good? What is the best time that I can possibly have if I diet right, if I train the way that I'm supposed to be training? So again, like I'm a person of extremes, that I feel like, okay, so I need to almost throw away everything that I've done before in the past and then just start from a new person. Because at the end of the day, I still have that dream of being a millionaire. And we're going to see in 5 years if I'm successful or not. But like after that race, I've learned to understand that the only reason I am not actually finishing the things that I say is because I don't commit myself to them. I didn't actually train the way that I was supposed to train for this. There could have been a million excuses. The way that I put myself, that I told myself that, oh, the business is growing. The business is growing, which is a reality. But there's also other things that I could have ran on my lunch hour. I could have done so many other things that would have allowed me to train for this thing that I signed up for. I committed by paying money to it. Why couldn't I commit by actually putting my time and effort into not just finishing? I don't just want to finish. I want to be able to be competitive and, actually make myself proud. Because even after I finished the first marathon, I was not proud of myself. It's cool to show the medal on social media. It's cool to say I finished this, but you know that you can do more, and it's like you're robbing yourself. You're robbing yourself of your true potential when you're happy with the mediocre product that you're producing. If I would have finished this race, I would have been happy. It would have been like my 3rd medal prize. I was like, yeah, I finished this. I'm the shit. Like I am somebody that has finished 2 ultra marathons. Like, get on my level.
What's the cool thing though about,
yeah, it's
the fact that now
yeah,
and if you don't do anything about it, you're worse than before.
Dude.
Like that's shitty, but it's true, right? So like, I love when I fuck up. I absolutely love it. And I highlight it to people too. When something happens, I'm always like, now like there is no excuse as if, dude, I didn't know. Like, don't fucking forget.
The Tarahumara, they were drunk the entire time.
No.
They were drunk. Not only were they drunk, some of them were on a trip. Some of them had peyote. So I don't know how they finished, but if they can finish, and it reminds me too that I remember when we were go on our runs, I told you that, there's people that run 100 miles and you told me, can you imagine how privileged those people are?
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
That's the first thought that came to my head. And I know, like, I don't know why I go there every time, but like, I do think of opportunities for people.
Yeah.
Like it's just by being able to run, 100 miles, like all the things that you must be able to have.
Dude, those people have nothing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Those people have nothing.
Crazy.
Like,
although, like, think about it. They still do their own ways. Right? It's like they still hunt deer by chasing it.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
It's like even though they don't have nothing in terms of money,
yeah,
they still have the training in their daily life.
Yeah, definitely. It's part of their culture. It's part of their tradition. But in terms of, they have a rich culture. They have a rich life.
Right. I did not mean it.
Yeah, definitely. No, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean to say they have nothing because, of course,
it's because nothing, dude.
Yeah.
Like you don't even have to correct yourself. Like it's nothing in the sense that we live in different places. Like I've thought about this myself. Like about myself. Like what would my life be if I wasn't here? Like I would need a lot less. So like you don't need what you don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
You know. So like.
Yeah, they came up to me and they're like, "Cómpranos una cerveza," like, because I don't know, they saw me with cara de pocho.
Yeah,
so
you look rich.
Yeah, I don't know what it was about me, but so I bought them all beers and we had a cheers before the race at 5 a.m. in the morning. We had a beer. We had a beer with them.
That's so epic, dude. Do you have a video of that?
Yeah, we do have a video. Abby recorded it. And then I walked outside. Everybody was drinking. All the ladies, they all had their tecates and they were all killing them. And I was just like, everyone out here is just having fun, and I'm over here, trying to run for my own ego, but they're just out here just having fun,
That's tough.
This is their fun run. And I couldn't finish the fun run that this is just for them. It's like, it's just a regular day.
Again, I you can't compare yourself to the prodigy.
Yeah, definitely.
I think like that's like an important thing to mention.
100%.
Bro, it's been awesome to have you. Anytime I talk to you, and I know, we're going to continue to see each other, but I grow, and it's, that having those conversations is important. How can people find you so that they can follow you? I know, does that go for you actually?
At this point, it's more like if someone needs dope photography, you can definitely contact us. Studio A Photography.
Okay.
You can find us on Studio A. We do headshots. Quinceañeras is the big one for us. If you know anyone that has a quinceañera coming up soon, look no further.
Look no further.
Yeah, definitely.
This is your crew. You can literally go on their social media right now. Look at the TikToks. Like if you want to see what the dream looks like, go and look at those videos, and you be like, you know what, this is the one. 100%,
100%. And I honestly believe that. I believe that as far as quinceañera work, we are, if not the number one, we're getting close to being the number one. And in the next year, we'll take over.
Fuck yeah. Muchas gracias por escucharnos hoy. Muy contentos de tenerlo, Raza, y nos escuchamos el siguiente episodio. Chao. Raza, muchas gracias por escuchar el episodio de esta semana. Ahí te encargo que nos dejes un review en Apple Podcasts y en Spotify. Ya sabes, síguenos en tu plataforma de podcast favorita o en YouTube para que te avisen cuando salga el siguiente episodio. Nos puedes contactar en @betorrizo_ o en @que te tomas_ en Instagram y en Twitter. También nos puedes seguir en YouTube como @betorrizo o como que te tomas podcast. Music this week was by La Noche Oskura, LESFM, and from the Silverman Sound. This episode was produced and edited by me, Beto Rizzo. Photo and lighting was provided by Jean Reynoso, who you can follow on Instagram as @GeanR_photo. Yo soy Beto Rizzo, and you're listening to Que Te Tomas. Bye.